wow, it's crazy. It takes time because you also, the universe does everything in the right timing. Sometimes everybody's journey is different. So don't compare your journey to someone else's. And what's meant to be will always be. I think people just need to believe in themselves. Don't doubt. Don't put negative energy out there. Don't say, oh, we don't have the budget, or how are we going to get investors? We'll never do this. We can't do that. Well, then that's going to be your reality. Say, yes, I can, and we will.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to It's the Bearded Man podcast with your favorite, the world's favorite bearded man, Bobbbaaaay. Each week with our guest episodes, I try to put the spotlight on someone who, in my eyes, has given themselves permission to live a life authentic to them. Our guest today is from Baldwinsville, New York. After graduating from the State University of New York College of Oswego, I think I pronounced that right, she spent 8 years working in the fashion PR industry in New York City before launching Zink Talent. Zink Talent is a global influencer talent agency that started in 2018, where they pride themselves on not adhering to industry standards, staying ahead of the curve, and being a word-of-mouth agency known to be committed to its clientele. Today on the podcast, Samantha Zink. How we doing?
Thanks so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Absolutely honored. When I reached out to you, got me more fired up when you had said that one of your intentions for 2022 was to be on more podcasts. So I'm hoping we can build some momentum today and send you in the right direction of wanting to be on more shows.
Yeah, I feel like it was honestly meant to be. Yes. I was writing my New Year's resolutions, and it was to be on one podcast a month. And then you reached out the next day, and it was like, wow.
Wow, that was
powerful.
It was that quick. You wrote it, and then the next day I reached out to you.
Yeah, that's why I said it was so freaky. So I was like, wow. All right, we have to do it.
What's the want or desire to be on more podcasts?
I think that I have a story to tell, and I'm living it, and my team knows it, my family and friends do. But I think that I need to start telling my story a bit more because it's very inspirational. Like you said, I was working in PR in New York City. I never thought that I was going to be a business owner or an entrepreneur. And so I want to really share my story to show that you can do whatever you want to do in this world. You're not limited to what you went to college for or what your parents want you to do.
Yeah, not only I think is it inspirational, but I also think it's good for you as your brand. Like it gets your awareness of Zink Talent. It also serves as like these mini documentations of your life as you're building your business. And so hopefully 3-5 years from now, you look back on this, you listen to this episode and you're like, this is where we were, this is where we are now with Zink Talent. And I think it, on top of the inspiration and people getting context to who you are, I think it documents some of your journey along the way and really captures it.
Absolutely. No, it'll be an amazing thing to be able to look back at and listen to and be like, wow, that's, when we were in year 4 and now we're year 10, and just to really document that growth.
It's crazy. It's crazy. I was really hyped to reach out to you because I remember when we had met a while back, I think it was at Cooper's at like a bonfire, and we had chatted a little bit about your business. And one intention that I have going into this year was I need to get more women on this podcast. I haven't, I've just naturally always like reached out to people that I was interested in. But then I kind of looked back on the last year, 2 years. I'm like, okay, I'm not making an effort to get more women on the podcast. And I want to talk to more women. There's no question about it. I'd rather talk to women than male all day. So this is like part of my intention this year is like making sure to put more of an effort to go out of my way to find the women that I think would be great for this show. And no questions asked. You're an incredible example of, as we're going to get into today. So I'm very excited to dive into this.
Yeah, well, I'm really excited. And I think it is great to have, more of a diverse audience and
totally
hearing like both sides. And then it's going to be fun.
It's a win-win. Take me back though. So you spent 8 years working in fashion PR in New York City before you finally take the leap to launch Zink Talent. But I'm curious, like going into like the PR world, did your idea of working in PR differ from what the actual reality was of once you started working in the industry?
100%.
Yeah. Okay. So describe what it would look like and then what it actually was.
So I grew up with Laguna Beach, The Hills, and on MTV. And
classic.
Yeah, and I saw what those girls did. Obviously, I was living in a small town upstate New York, and they were in California. Living like we had very different lives. But my guidance counselor asked me what I wanted to do for a living. What do you want to go to college for? And I had no idea. So I was like, I'm going to be like the girls on the hills and, do fashion PR. I wasn't thinking New York City then. I was just thinking, oh, I'm going to go to an upstate college and do PR. And I didn't really think too far ahead. So I'm graduating school and I'm having another what am I going to do with my life moment, and I started Googling internships and something popped up and it was like a New York City fashion PR. And I told my parents, I was like, I'm applying for internship. It was actually funny because I paid for the internship. Looking back, I was like, I thought you had to pay for an internship. It was called Dream Careers. And
Okay.
they house you at NYU and basically set you up with a internship and you get the full New York City experience. And so I put together this whole PowerPoint for my family. Please, I won't there's no opportunity here. Please send me away. I graduated and then I went to New York City the very next week. And
Wow.
my life began. I started a fashion PR internship and it was very different. My internship consisted of me organizing shoe closets. I had to run around New York City and deliver fashion lookbooks. I was not learning, but I ended up excelling in that internship, not doing anything super important. And they hired me on full time as an account executive. And it was funny, they hired me because I was working the door at one of our fashion events and I was chit-chatting with one of the designers, Sergio, and I was just like, I love you. I love your collection. It's so beautiful. I can see it in Esquire magazine, GQ, Complex. Back then, magazines were a thing and influencers were on the rise. And our Christmas holiday party, my boss came up to me and was like, the craziest thing happened. Sergio said that he wants you to manage his account, be his publicist.
Wow.
And I told him you were an intern. So they're like, we have a job to offer you, Samantha. And after holiday break, I ended up starting full time.
Wow. So just you going up to him and complimenting that right there just shows me you not intentionally wanting to create the opportunity for yourself, but you had the confidence to go up and strike the conversation, which then ripples and actually turns into this massive opportunity. You're going from intern to then account executive. Have you always just and now I could be biased, but I always think of New Yorkers, when they want something or they have something to say, they're going to say it and do it. So yeah. I'm kind of it makes sense. She's from New York. She's going to go say something because, she admires this designer, but most people wouldn't. They would be too scared to actually say hello.
Yeah. And I mean, I was still very much a small town girl at that point. I didn't get my New York City tough skin yet. And I think I just really loved what I was doing. And I was the only one there. All of my bosses had left to go to happy hour or whatever. So I was working the event door. And I think he saw my passion and drive. And I believed in him and his collection. And he wasn't just a client to me. I was like, I love what you're doing. I love these pieces. And I think that, even my career now, it's your clients want you to believe in them. And I think that's really, that's what connected Sergio and I that night.
Yeah, you can't, there's no price tag that you can pay somebody to actually believe in them. You can feel that energy when somebody truthfully believes in you. And that's something where it's you need to grab onto those types of people and stay surrounded by them. So he knows that if you're the one managing the account, best case scenario, because you're already somebody that likes what he's doing, which means that you're going to actually go the extra length to do what you need to do to bring them the most value versus somebody that, is just getting paid to do it, doesn't really care about the brand and isn't as passionate as clearly you were, giving that to him and he could probably feel it.
Yeah, exactly. And then I started and I loved it. I loved every moment of it. But the more months I got into it, I realized that my first agency wasn't it and I wanted to explore other ones. So I ended up leaving. I went to a different fashion PR agency and I just kept finding the same thing. I felt I felt like I was ahead of the curve, and I was such a go-getter, and I knew it. I knew what I was doing, and I was doing it well. So I almost felt like I was,
Undervalued.
better than my bosses at their job.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was just really overworked and underpaid, and I wasn't happy. And I went from agency to agency, and I'm like, it's just the same thing, different agency. Maybe it's PR. And then I started feeling like PR was kind of a dying breed. Maybe it was more prominent 10 years ago, a decade ago, but I don't think it's really needed now. And I was always pushing influencers, and my clients and bosses would never listen to me. They were so traditional. They're like, no, we need to be in Vogue. We need to be in Elle magazine. We need to be, on the Today Show. And I'm like, no, times are changing. We need to get with it, and no one listens to me at all, or listened to me at all during that time.
Now they want to listen to you.
Now they're paying me to work with my influencers, full circle.
Well, it's something to be said about you graduate college, you follow this path, what you think is what you want to do. You're jumping around from like, all right, this agency's not working. Let me try everyone. This one's not working. Let me try another one. But to be aware enough to go, I'm not happy, and me shifting around is clearly not changing anything. So I need to be open-minded to like, maybe there is something that needs to change. But talk to me about, there's a moment when I believe you're in the subway. I think this is after you worked all night. It's like 5 a.m. or that's somewhat, I think, of the story. And you have like this light bulb moment idea where you want to start managing influencers. Clearly, as you're just describing, like you're already trying to pitch to your bosses, like we need to do influencers. Nobody wants to listen. How do you find the will inside you to say like, this isn't just an idea that I have, like I actually want to pursue it? Because there's a million great ideas in this world, but to actually take that step towards it is in of itself a massive like leap. So talk to me about how you were able to actually listen to that idea within you and actually go for it.
Yeah. So it was I was in a PR agency in 2017. I think it was like my sixth one in. Okay. So it was
just keep chipping away. Are we going to find the one? Yeah.
There's a lot of those in New York City. So, it's just crazy because our clients were never happy. It was very much so that, the Devil Wears Prada. Our boss would yell at us all the time because they didn't know what they were doing. And then they were overpromising clients, screaming at us. And it was just such a toxic environment. And I was working in New York Fashion Week, and, I was handling influencer management on like the designer side. So I would basically get them to go to the show and capture the runway show, post about it. We paid them a ton of money. And I was so just exhausted, brutally exhausted and miserable at that point. And we'd be at the shows with the photographer till like 5 a.m., finishing up work, and had to be at the office at 7. New York Fashion Week seems so fun, but when you are a publicist in fashion,
it's your nightmare.
It was horrible. I always thought that it was going to be a dream come true, and now I won't even attend as a guest. I'm scarred.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
So keep going, please.
I was on the subway, and I had never thought about leaving PR. I loved it. I just felt like if I kept bopping around, I'd find someone who could pay me enough, and give me a good work-life balance. And I was on the subway with my colleague, Katie, at the time. We were going from show to show, and I was just sitting there, and I call it this because I don't have a better term for it, but I had an epiphany. And I said, I'm going to manage influencers. It literally just like popped in my head. It was like, I don't know where I was just like, you know what? We pay them so much money and they post. And then I'm on the opposite side of it. I'm on the brand side, and I have the same salary no matter how many hours I put in. I can't change that salary. I had like a review, and I'm not even kidding. My review, they gave me an annual review, $600. I was like, what am I going to do with that? Like, that's insane. That's like, a fraction of my New York City rent.
At that point, just don't even give me the raise. That's like a slap in the face.
I said, can you give me a bonus? And they're like, we can't do that in case you leave. I was just like,
wow.
I was baffled. Yeah. And, I said, I'm going to manage influencers. And when I want something, I get it. So then very next day, I still had a ton of Fashion Week shows. I sat down and I said, what is Zink Talent? Who are my clients? It wasn't even Zink Talent at the time. It was just an idea. And I started kind of like writing it out, writing my vision out. And what did I want it to look like? Is it, I just wanted freedom from this PR life, my past life. I wanted freedom. And I felt like this was the token. It was the key. It was going to get me out. And I hustled. I started it as a side hustle. I had influencer connections from being in PR. And I would I would go on coffee breaks, tell my boss, like, be right back, grabbing a matcha or a latte. And I would take them out and I would sit them down and I would say, listen, like, I know you're managing yourself because you just left this huge agency that wasn't paying you any attention. And, now you're managing yourself and it's a lot on your plate. You have 1 million followers. I said, let me manage you. We don't have to be exclusive, but I think that I can make you a lot of money from all my experience in PR. It's the same thing I was doing, but on the other side. So I know how to pitch. I know how to negotiate. I know, the legal stuff with contracts and then invoicing at the end. I know everything, but I just knew there was more money on this side and I was going to get after it. So I thought I was going to really hype myself, right? I had this like whole pitch and they're like, I got like a quarter the way through it and they're like, let's do it. Wait, what?
They're already sold. Yeah. It almost sounds like, once again, it's you believing in them. And then you're coming back with facts and obviously like thoughtful ideas of like how you can help them. Clearly you're using the experience that you've learned over the last 8 years working in PR, which, like you said, translates into very much kind of the similar world. So to me, it's like a no-brainer. Of course, they're going to want to hear you out. And then if it feels like you're believing in them, they're going to be more open-minded to wanting to work with you.
Yeah, that was exactly it. And I mean, they trusted me too, just because they knew I worked at top, PR agencies as well. I wasn't some like Joe Schmo.
Yeah.
And I had gotten them paid deals at my agency. So they're like, sure, this sounds wonderful. And I had formed friendships with them too. So, okay, I have my first client. She has 1 million followers. Let's go.
Wow.
What's my name? It started as like Zinkism. And then like I had it all created. And I was like, wait, that's a little weird. Let's just keep it simple. Zink Talent. Okay, what do I do next? I have to create an email and a website. I asked all my good looking friends around New York City, let's do a photo shoot around New York. I need some content. I need some images for my website and my Instagram. It's got all my best looking, group of friends. And we took photos and I paid my friend like, I don't even know, $50 to take the photos. And then that was the Instagram. I used to be, in PR, I dealt with a lot of creatives. So I had my friend Kiefer create a logo for $60. There we go. I have a Zink Talent logo. I loved it. It was just, I used it up until this year, actually.
Wow. So you used it for 3 years.
Yeah, I loved it. Paid $60 for it. It was great. So we have a website and then contract. Big one, because my contracts were from the designer side. So I needed one for influencers. I Googled talent contract, pulled one up. It was for recording artists. I just changed everything around so that it was for influencers.
Wow.
So then I just basically put all my stuff in. And I really worked on that one for a while because, you don't want to mess with anything legal or contracts.
Totally.
But you don't want to go into a partnership without a contract because if they don't pay you or something goes wrong, you always want to be, legally binded to them and have something in place. And then, I had an email, I had a signature, and then I drafted the pitch, started pitching her out. I think it was like my 5th email and we got a 10K deal.
Unbelievable.
So 5 emails, what is that, like a few minutes?
Yeah. 5th one, you're locking in 10K. That's immediately just like this like probably big moment where you're like, I can literally, this is a game changer. This is game over. Yeah.
I was like, it takes me a very long time, months at my job, at 28 years old to even make like a little bit of that. And then I was like, this is it, this is my calling. Let's keep it going. So it was a side hustle. I would take more influencers out and I was representing, I think like 3 girls at that time. And I would do it, basically, I was in an office job 9 to 5, and I would do it at my desk at the office as a side hustle and weekends. And I was so determined. I'm like, we're going to do this. And I got to a point where I was making enough money that I could walk away. But I don't know. I didn't want to leave that like safety blanket, and I wasn't fully ready. But there was a moment at my agency that changed everything. I was working on an account, and my boss was mad about something. She called me out in front of the entire office, like reamed me out, screamed at me. I'm like shaking kind of because, I dealt with that a lot in PR, but like this was it. I think like I was even fighting with my like boyfriend at the time, and I just like hit this limit, and I couldn't come back, and I couldn't talk to her about it. I was just like, this is it. If this is the environment that I'm working in, like I don't want to be a part of it. I need to leave. So I was like, I'm very spiritual. I asked the universe, I said, universe, show me 111 if I'm meant to walk out of this job and start Zink Talent full time. And the day went on. I didn't think about it. And I went to lunch, and I grabbed my phone to look at an email or something, and it said 111. And I'm like, no freaking way.
Where did you pick 111 from? Why that number?
It's an easy one. So there's angel numbers, and there's a meaning behind, numbers of like 3. 333, 111, or like just different types of numbers. And it was just easy and came to mind. I was like 111. And then when I saw it, I was like, it's meant to be. I have to walk out. So I have my lunch. I go back to my desk, and I'm like, speaking of which, it's 333 right now. Creepy, right?
That's how you know. It's like, something is paying attention to the world. If the fact is that right now it's 3:33 in the afternoon, we're talking about this. All right, that's something. I don't know what it is, but there's something out there.
It's just, there's signs all over. People just need to pay attention to them. Yeah. And so I'm like, all right, I'm like back and forth. Basically, I only have my laptop that I need to bring, and I clear my desktop and everything. And I'm like, okay, back and forth. What are we going to do? Because I wasn't going to say bye. I was going to just walk out.
The same day that she just
a few hours later. Wow. Yeah. So I grab my stuff and I walk out, and now I'm at the subway. Okay, I am shaking. We're doing this. I call my best friend Lexi, and I'm like, Lexi, she was doing well at the time, still is. And I said, should I walk out and start this on full time? I gave her like the whole story, and she's like, yes, absolutely. Your friends are always going to believe in you.
Totally.
And I was like, if I don't make it, will you pay my rent? Like, this is big. My rent is quite expensive in New York City. Like, please, like, say you'll pay my rent. She's like, I'll pay your rent. I got you. Wow. And I got on the subway, and I went home, and I wrote my boss an email saying everything that was wrong with that agency, how she ran things, how she spoke to people, and how she treated us. And I never heard back from her.
Never. Not even Wow, yeah. That just shows you the character of ex-boss. I don't know how anyone could think it's fair or right to like yell at somebody in front of other people. Yeah. And it's always about how you communicate to people. To me, it's like the thing, like you can tell people they've done something wrong, but like to elevate your voice, to scream at them, to embarrass them in front of other people, that it does, as somebody that is very aware, like I don't see how that could ever benefit anybody that's part of that situation.
Yeah, I think it was like an old school stigma around like fashion PR, that the CEOs and founders and the higher ups are just these like really crude women that talk, everyone's below them. You have to like work your way up. And I mean, times are changing, totally. And now my business, is more successful than hers was. Hers was literally falling apart. Yeah. So it really is how you treat your team is like, that's basically the key to your success.
Yeah.
You need to invest in your team.
How do you take these learnings from working in a toxic atmosphere and knowing that this isn't something you want to be around? How have you translated that into your team? Because I know at least back in August, I had came across an interview. At the time, you had 31 clients, you had 9 people working for you. I don't know if that number has changed, but how do you make sure that your team members that you're working with never experience that work toxic atmosphere that you kind of had to deal with?
So yeah, we actually have 40 clients now, which is exciting.
Nice. Congratulations.
We keep growing, and I love every minute of it. I am patient with my team. I invest in my team. It took me a long time. My company was never funded. I didn't work with any investors. It was self-funded. I worked on it until I could take it on full time. And it took me a long time before I could even have employees. And these girls are absolute superstars. You need to be patient with your team. You need to train them to be little mini yous, you know. It's so cute. They email like me, they have that drive like me, and they're family. So before it was like I was a go-getter. I had this mindset like I'm gonna hustle, I'm gonna be a multimillionaire. And now, you know what I think about before I go to bed is like my employees and my clients who are my family. I deeply care for all of them. And I never yell at them. If they're not understanding, we have like just such open communication. You know, and I reward them too. We have so many fun incentives. We have bonuses. We have trips. We have events. We're family. They're not my employees. They're like part of the Zink family is what we call it.
Wow. And approaching it from that aspect actually at the end of the day makes you more money, grows the business. Everybody is happier. Like the energy of I'm sure the team is much, much more positive and optimistic because everyone knows like the harder the work, they're going to see it. And it's just the right way to approach running a business. But I feel like a lot of people out there don't do it that way, which is unfortunate. I think they probably just haven't had the experiences that you've had where you've been able to, you know, go through this negative time, but then now you're able to move forward and go, okay, that's exactly what I never want to happen for my team. And now you're able to create this atmosphere where it's open communication. Everyone's, you know, welcome and it's family, which I think just helps the entire business grow. That's why you're at 40, your roster's 40 deep at this point, because it's clear that clearly you have the capacity to, you know, manage all of this talent, and you have a team that, like you said, they're mini yous running around and carry that same mindset, energy, and know how to run the business.
Yeah, I think a lot of people go into business and they're founders of companies, but they don't know how to manage, you know, they don't know how to manage a team. And, you know, I definitely hear a lot of podcasts with CEOs just saying like, you know, I went into it and I didn't know how to like properly train my team. And there's a lot of, you know, classes on that, workshops, books, you know, you can definitely learn how to be a good manager, but you need to do the work because if you're spending all this time training your team and then maybe overworking and underpaying them and not treating them fair, then you wasted all that time training them and they're just going to go to your competitor.
Yeah.
You know, keep them around long term.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is it takes time and effort to train them, and most people probably feel like it's wasting time because they're not speeding up. But in reality, you spend that time, which may feel like a lost time, but in actuality, you're helping set them up for success so that they're running on their own, and then all of a sudden, you know, they're accomplishing goals for you, you know, taking down tasks that you would have needed to do. Now you don't need to do it because you have somebody that is trained and knows exactly what the vision is and what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, exactly.
You said patience and obviously like team management. What other skills have you found to be crucial in being a CEO?
You have to wear many hats. You know, in the beginning, like I was saying, is I needed to be everything. I didn't have money to hire an accountant or bookkeeper or, you know, anybody to even help me. So I was all of those things at once. You know, at 28 years old, I didn't know how to do bookkeeping, but I didn't have money to pay someone, so I needed to learn. You know, in the beginning, being a CEO, be scrappy. You can Google pretty much anything. You can learn how to do pretty much any occupation. Like there's just so much information out there. And I think a lot of people just don't utilize it. Yeah. You know, YouTube, just listening to podcasts and YouTube, I learn so much every day. It's insane. Even reading.
Yeah.
So that's definitely it. Patience and I think always be ahead of the curve. It doesn't matter what industry that you're in. I think it's always important to be ahead of the curve, always on trend, know of the trends, because if you're not, your competitors definitely will be.
Yeah, I want to say, I didn't get a chance to say it earlier because we kind of kept moving along, but props to you when you were starting the business, like those little incremental steps of like, all right, I'm going to build a website. Cool. Then I'm going to make the email. Then I'm going to pay $60 to have the logo design. Then I'm going to pay the friends $50 to shoot the photos. Like that the scrappiness there is exactly like, that's where the secret sauce is, right? When you have nothing and your back's against the wall, you have to make it work with what you've got. And most times we think that if we don't have a budget, we're in trouble. But like you're saying, like these cell phones that we have, I mean, you could shoot a damn movie. You could take high quality photos, like get your friend to like be in good lighting, take a picture. Now you have a model. It's like, it's all about being creative. When you have nothing, it's just about thinking outside the box, looking around at what resources do you have, and then using it to the best of your ability, which is what I loved when you kind of went on and when you were talking about that. So I just want to give you props to that. But when you say like, being ahead of the curve, clearly that's important to, stand out from your competitors. Can you give me one example of how maybe 2022 you see your agency and your, like, how do you guys plan to be ahead of the curve?
So it's just in general, just in the industry, there's so many different social platforms. Main ones for us right now would be, even podcasters, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok is a huge one. Always know what's going on in the industry. If there's a platform that's going to pop up, you need to get your clients on that like yesterday, and then also just kind of what is going on with brands are always interested in different types of influencers throughout the years. Before a year ago, I'd say they want to see a beautifully curated feed. They want to see a color scheme. Now, brands want influencers to be authentic and real. So I always need to know what brands are looking for so I can make sure that my clients are consistently evolving.
Smart. Yeah. You should be on the new platform yesterday. I love that. It's crazy in the world we live in, because it's like, there's new platforms popping up every single day. So you definitely have to pay attention to what's the next hottest thing. Quick break from today's episode, and then we'll get right back to it. Today's episode is brought to you by none other than the greatest hydration brand in the world, Liquid I.V. Now, if you're watching visually, I got my 3 favorite flavors right here. We got the tangerine with a bunch of vitamin C in it. We have strawberry, and then we also have watermelon. These are the best flavors in my opinion, but the good news is there's a lot of different other flavors as well. I don't drink Liquid I.V to just drink it. I drink it because it helps me feel my best self, whether it is working out, whether it is long runs, whether it is podcasting, just trying to feel my best self on a daily basis. This is the product that you guys and gals need. If you head over to liquidiv.com and use my promo code TheBeardedMan, it'll get you 25% off every single order, literally every single order, TheBeardedMan, all one word. This is the greatest hydration brand in the game. It's a new year. It's a new us. We are trying to reach our inner potential. There's no better way to do that than to start fueling your body to operate at its highest level. And hydration comes first, and that is very important. What's great about Liquid I.V, it contains 5 essential vitamins, more vitamin C than an orange, and as much potassium as a banana. It is for sure healthier than sugary sports drinks. There's no artificial flavors or preservatives, and less sugar than an apple. It is made with clean ingredients, non-GMO, vegan. It is free of gluten, dairy, and soy. So if you have any food allergies out there, it is pretty damn good from stopping you from, having to deal with any of those allergies. It's pretty clean. What makes Liquid I.V so effective is the cellular transport technology, that's CTT. Essentially, one stick is the equivalent to drinking 2 to 3 times the hydration than just water alone. It is an incredible product. It is something that I use every single day, and I really do believe in it. Not only do they have great hydration products, we also have an energy product, which I'm a big fan of, and there's a lot of different flavors for you guys and gals to check out. So if you want to feel your best self, if you want to feel more hydrated throughout the day, if you want to feel like you have more energy, because hydration, I believe, does help us have more energy through the day, head over to liquidiv.com right now to get your supply and use my promo code TheBeardedMan for 25% off every single order. Once again, that's liquidiv.com, TheBeardedMan, all one word, 25% off your order. And that's going to help you feel your best self. So check it out. You won't regret it. Now, let's get back to the episode. What's been one of the biggest hurdles you've had since starting the business?
It's crazy. I haven't had a hurdle.
Really?
Everything
has felt like just like even any roadblocks, you felt like they were just little minor things that you could easily, step over. Nothing like that was going to redefine the business.
Since the very beginning, when I would journal about my vision and what I wanted Zink Talent to be, I worked really hard for it. I still work hard. I work 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, but I manifested Zinc talent. I wrote what I wanted it to be. And I never, when I first started, my mom said, you need to write out your business plan. You need a 5-year plan. And I started doing it and I was like, this isn't me. It's not me. It doesn't feel right. I don't want to have plans for myself. I want to enjoy the journey. And ever since then, I take it year by year. I haven't had clients really leave. I have, been able to kind of grow and take on more. The more we grow, the more I'm able to hire, the more influencers we're able to represent. And so I haven't had a crazy hurdle. I've only had steady growth, which feels right and comfortable and natural and organic.
I was just talking to somebody the other day about how I think it's good to have kind of an overarching idea of what the big picture is, but I can't tell you by November what guests I'm going to have on the show. I have a running list of people that I want to have on the show, but it's I respect some people want that. They want to have their entire year laid out and they want to plan it. And, I guess for, corporations and of that scale, they really have to do it because there's so many layers to the organization. But yeah. I very much like that aspect of you kind of look at the past year, probably you see what you guys have done. You look at the next year, what's the big goals? What are we trying to tackle? And then you kind of just go with the flow because you don't know what's going to pop up today, what opportunity might show up at your door tomorrow, what coffee date leads to this massive opportunity that you never imagined. So it's almost like trusting and believing that as long as you're headed towards whatever that bigger picture looks like, that the goals and plans will follow. Because a great example is the top of this year, I launched an app, but 5 months ago, if you had asked me, are you going to launch an app this year? I would have been like, no, I have no, what do you mean an app? That's not going to happen. But once again, I got connected to the right person, an opportunity got presented. Yeah, let's do it. So I think there's this trust of flow of see how things play out, but also, be walking towards whatever this big goal, whatever this vision is that you have for Zinc Talent. Obviously, you probably can picture what it's going to look like 5 years from now, but you don't necessarily know the steps it's going to take to get to that level.
Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, I'm still mind blown that I have 9 employees. I'm like, but I don't, 5 years ago, I'm glad that I didn't write down, 2022, I need 20 employees and then look at that and, feel, kind of emotional and down about it. Right now, I just am I'm trusting the universe. I'm working hard. And I'm just excited to see what is to come. I'm not going to stress out about what I write on a piece of paper. And again, like you said, everybody's different. Our brains are all made up very differently. And that's just how I work. And it's been much better for me that way. So I don't stress out. I haven't really had any crazy hurdles. I don't take on more than I can chew, and I think that was a big thing for me. A lot of people would have taken on 100 clients by now. Well, I only have 9 girls working for me. I don't want them overworked. They're young. I want them to have a good work-life balance.
So important. And that's probably too coming from that life in PR where you had way too much on your plate and there was no work-life balance. So it's so smart that you're just approaching it from that what that place was like, never going back. And that slow, steady growth, I think, is ultimately what then, allows you to really scale in time because you're building the foundation so that as things pick up, you're slowly building with the roster and with obviously the team members. But the manifestation part, I just want to go on that for a second. I think people hear the word manifestation and they think it's this guru word, this spiritual bullshit that they're what I'm going to sit down, close my eyes and open my eyes and everything's going to come to life. I have what I think is a pretty accurate definition, but I'm curious, how do you define what manifestation is?
So, I can actually just say what I'm not an expert in it. So I hate to
Great. We're not, no, here's the thing. We're not experts. Neither of us are experts. These are our opinions and whether people want to run with them, keep them, disregard them, it's up to them. But we got the mics. We get to say whatever we want today. They're listening to you. All right. So whatever you have to say is valuable.
Yeah, I know. This works for me. It might not work for you. Don't DM me in a year. I think what you put into the universe and what you believe, comes back to you. in 2017, I had a notebook and I wrote down everything I wanted to manifest. Zinc talent. What did it look like? How did it make me feel? What is the money we're making? I described it so clearly and I kept writing about it. And then I would say affirmations. Zinc talent is immensely successful. We have an abundance of wealth. And I would keep saying that year after year. This is years ago though. So I'm looking at 2022 and I'm like, everything I wrote down in that notebook in 2017 is coming to life. It doesn't happen overnight, but if you believe in something and you put it out into the universe, you have to really believe it. You can't just say like, oh, we're going to be successful. Like you have to truly believe it and work on yourself, and it'll come into fruition. Yeah, and I truly do believe that. I mean, you can manifest anything. You can manifest a girlfriend, a boyfriend, what you want their qualities to be. Just put it out there.
Yeah, still working on the girlfriend part. We're planting seeds around here in LA. So we'll see what happens there. But I completely agree with you. I think what I'm hearing from you is a lot of the seeds that you planted years ago, getting clear on what you wanted is now coming to fruition. I think to me, that is the easiest way to look at manifestation. It's about, you have to understand where you're trying to go and what you want in this life for you to then be able to walk towards it. And to me, people that manifest their dream life are people that get clear on what they want. They know what the end goal looks like. And they're able in the day-to-day, in those micro decisions, they're able to make decisions on whether they say yes or no to something with that in mind. Is this coffee date helping me towards this? Is going out to dinner with this group of people getting me closer to this? Of course, it's not always that calculated, but to a certain extent, a lot of your time and energy has to be somewhat getting you closer to this overarching goal. Otherwise, you're never going to get there. And so I think it's so important to get clear on just what does that dream life look like. And then it allows you to, like you're saying today, this 2022 vision that you're now living that reality. This was all manifested over years of just you understanding what you wanted.
Yeah, absolutely. And, like I said, a year went by and I was like, wait, my notebook isn't like coming to life. But now at 31 years old, I'm looking at
young, 31 years young. Come on. You're just getting started.
I feel old. Well, compare it to 27 when I was then. But yeah, I'm like, wow, it's crazy. It takes time because you also, the universe does everything in the right timing. Sometimes everybody's journey is different. So don't compare your journey to someone else's. And what's meant to be will always be. I think people just need to believe in themselves. Don't doubt. Don't put negative energy out there. Don't say, oh, we don't have the budget, or how are we going to get investors? We'll never do this. We can't do that. Well, then that's going to be your reality. Say, yes, I can, and we will.
Yes. If you're going to compare yourself to anybody, compare yourself to who you were yesterday and the day before that. And you're always going to feel motivated and wanting to keep growing and keep working towards whatever these goals might be. And I think it was June 2021. So about 6 months ago, you were on Woman in Business panel, and you said something along the lines that there's never going to be an end point. You have to keep striving and working towards your goals each year. Kind of goes off of what you were saying, but have you found yourself in the past, like tricking yourself to believing that once you get to destination X, everything's going to be good. Happiness is going to be through the roof. Your life is going to be bliss. Like, have you ever had that experience where you thought like once you get to a destination, everything was good? Or have you always just trusted and known that it's always going to be a work in progress? Like you get to one peak and then you're instantly going to be chasing the next one.
It's so funny. When I left my 9-to-5 and started Zinc Talent, my mentality, I'm going to be honest, was
can't wait.
I was like, okay, well, I'm going to have 3 clients and I'm going to just travel the world and vacation all the time. That was my mentality, but the universe had something else, something else in mind. And then I blinked and I had like a couple people working for me and 20 clients, and I blinked again and here we are. And I'm like, okay, I guess we're going to keep going. And now I'm so invested in this company and the people that work for, I love it. I guess I never felt passion like I do with this. I never felt a purpose. I'm like, I don't even want to retire when I'm old. Like, I love this. I'm a part of every aspect of the company. You know, I'm not some CEO who just kind of like lets go and has her employees take over. Like, I am part of everything. I love it. I couldn't imagine life without it. I don't want to stop. I want to keep going. If the universe says that we need 500 clients globally, then fine, let's do
Wow. Yeah. The I never want to retire. I think that's just the true, that just shows you that you're on the right path. Because I think at the end of the day, all of our goals on this earth is to find something that we love to do. And of course, like times will change, seasons will change. Maybe there's a year where you cut back working a little bit so you can travel or whatever. But at the end of the day, you want to find that thing that you want to do for the rest of your life. Or one question I always pose to people if they're not sure if they're on the right path is, if money was never an issue again for the rest of your life, would you want to do what you're doing? Do you feel like this is something that, you got 100 million in the bank, you never have to work another day. Do you want to do what you're doing? And I think that's a good gauge of if you're on the right path or if you're not. And it's a tough question to ask yourself, but it's a reality check of, are you doing the right thing or are you not?
Yeah. I don't even think I would sell my business. I love it that much. Someone asked me that the other day. They're like, if someone offered you XYZ, would you say, nope, no, don't even have to think about it. This is my baby.
Yeah, that's amazing. There was a question I got submitted from Emma, and she had asked, what self-care habits matter most to you? What is your morning routine if you have one?
So self-care is different for everybody, and routines are different for everybody.
Yes.
I really tried so hard to be that person that wakes up early and has like a list of routines that they do. But just like the business plan, it's not always me. I travel a lot. I'm the girl who will hop on a plane tomorrow. I have
which you are.
which I actually am. Yeah. I work from wherever, my agency, I told them from the beginning, I don't believe in offices. So please travel, work, on your laptop where needed. And so that's exactly what I do. It's hard to really bring my routine everywhere. So I have certain things that really make me feel my best self. And, of course, it's exercise, working out. But I may do my SoulCycle bike at noon. It doesn't need to be 6 a.m. It could be whenever I have a moment and it feels right. I can journal, late at night or in the morning. I think just going outside with nature each day. It could be a walk or a hike. I've never regretted a walk or a hike. I always feel so good. You need fresh air, especially everyone who works from home, go outside for a second, get some sunlight.
I know.
And so I just think little things like that is just taking time for yourself and what, you truly love to do. Read your favorite book, listen to a podcast. And then did she say skincare routine?
Oh, no, sorry. She said just self-care habits.
Self-care.
Yeah, self-care
I was
habits.
like, don't get me started on my skincare routine.
Part 2. Here's the skincare routine from the top.
I'm like, no, that's actually a routine.
That'll be a different segment. But what I'm hearing and what I love, and that's something that I've stressed heavily on this podcast, is it's not about how early do you wake up. That doesn't determine someone's success. It's just, what are the decisions that you make in a day, whether it's the 6 a.m. cycle class, whether it's the noon run, whether it's the 5 p.m. Yoga class that you take. It's not about 24 hours is 24 hours. Whether you want to wake up at 11 a.m. or you want to get up at 5 a.m., that's up to you. It's just, how do you make the best of those 24 hours? What are those routines that doesn't have to, when you hear the word routine, it's not like you have to do it every single day, but it's like, what are those little choices that you can make in a day that make you feel your best self? And so I try to make sure that people understand on this podcast that it's not about what time do you wake up, what time do you go to bed. It's what works for Samantha might not work for me, and what works for me might not work for Emma, who posed the question. But I think you can pull from what other people do, and then try the journaling and try the workout and try the going outside. God bless living in Southern California, because as a New Yorker and I'm from Massachusetts, can't do this on the East Coast. And it's like, I was running on Sunday and I got burnt and it was 65 degrees. And I was like, God bless Southern California. So it's just little habits like that I think can make all the difference for your mental well-being and just for you.
I agree. And push yourself to do it. Sometimes there's a week or two and I don't work out. and I need to just push myself to stay on track. We all have our, go into funks, or we're busy with work or traveling or whatever it may be, but just like push yourself to go do it, because you're going to feel so much better after doing something you love, that's healthy, good for you.
Yeah. Pick up where you left off. Sometimes it's overwhelming when you're like, I haven't worked out in a week, or it's been 2 weeks. It's like, that's fine. Don't overthink it. The past, the past. Just focus on today and get that one workout in.
Exactly.
What's the best piece of advice you've ever received? Doesn't have to be the piece. Sorry, that's a big question. But like, what's a piece of advice that you find yourself reminding yourself of from time to time?
Honestly, it's just to continue believing in myself. I think a lot of people, especially when I had this idea to do it, no one doubted me. And they just said, like, believe in yourself all the way through. Like, don't doubt yourself.
Yeah.
And that has, I'm very confident in my company and what's to come. And I think that everybody should believe in themselves, no matter what feel good about yourself. Everybody's so unique. We all have different skill sets. Everybody is so special and beautiful, that like, have that self-love.
So important. I think what's interesting is the cliches that people hear, like the believe in yourself and trust the process. It's a cliche because it's truthful, and we have to hear it so many times until we finally like let it stick to us and go, yeah, I should trust the process. Like, yes, I should have self-love for myself. Yes, I should, listen to my emotions. Like, it's all those cliches that you hear so often, and people want to brush it off, but in reality, they should hold on to it because there is some truth to it.
Yeah. I'm like, all these people are believing in me. I need to believe in myself and just always feel that way.
Yeah.
You can't let negative energy consume you. Just always try to be as positive as you can throughout everything.
And the byproduct, which I can feel from you of believing in yourself, is that you're then able to have confidence in yourself.
Exactly. And don't get me wrong, I don't have confidence in every aspect of my life.
Amen, me either.
In progress, but I'm trying, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, I hear you on that. How would you describe 2021 in one word?
Oh my gosh, I just thought about it and I had a million words. Just amazing.
Amazing.
I was starting my new life in LA. It was my first full year living here from New York City. My business was booming. I was making a lot of friends. I was traveling a lot. Everything was just so blissful. Wow,
that's amazing. If you had to describe kind of the intent for 2022, what would the word be?
I have a few words, but keep it going.
Keep it going.
I want to keep that momentum up. I want to always feel good and just continue working on myself and enjoy the journey, be present. Sorry, I know that's more than one word.
Nah, that's fine. I love it. We can make exceptions. Don't worry. Are there any boundaries that you've built in your life that are really important to you?
I think that my boundaries are definitely, just now that I'm in my 30s, is just like keeping the right circle around that are there for me, and good, genuine people. I don't want to stay in an unhealthy relationship, always leave when you don't feel fulfilled or that it's right for you. Like, I have all these just boundaries popping up with work. If it doesn't feel right, like, just listen to your gut. You should have boundaries in every aspect of your life. To just, it's okay to say no. You're okay to, leave that long, like, term friendship that just from childhood that isn't working out anymore. Leave toxic people. Just always have boundaries in your life and respect yourself.
Yeah, it's so important. Something I got really good at in the last couple of years is just saying no to things that I just are not good for me, and knowing that I need to prioritize myself before anyone else. And as hard as that is sometimes, and you can feel it when you tell somebody like, I can't make the dinner, I can't make the event. It's like, at the end of the day, if I know it's best for me, I'm not going to say yes to it. And there are so many people that struggle to learn how to say no. And it is the most important hack that will open a gate of freedom for you to actually live every day doing the things you want to do. Then, rather than you've said yes to something, you dread it. Then you're dreading it coming up on the calendar. Then the calendar comes, you hate it. Then you're after the event, like, pissed that you went. It's like, just avoid it at all costs. Say no as soon as you can. And if people take it personal, then maybe reevaluate, what that friendship actually means if you need that space for yourself.
Exactly. And you showed up, but you weren't your best self. You probably weren't having as much fun as you would have if you had more rest or were in the right mindset. So, the real friends will be like, listen, Bobby, that's completely fine. Like, get some rest. I get it.
Totally.
Like, let's grab lunch tomorrow or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. They'll understand it. As a clearly a thriving CEO that's just absolutely crushing it, how do you make sure you have balance? Or do you find now? I feel like, let me answer the question now that I'm thinking about it. Now that we've had this full conversation, I feel like you're just in a flow where you already said it, you work 7 days a week. So
Yeah.
you kind of just every day, which is truthfully like you're living like every day is a Friday in the sense of like you love what you do and you work hard. And then I'm sure throughout the week and throughout the weekends, you have the time to go out and enjoy yourself.
Yeah. So I tell my employees this isn't a regular agency. We're not going to talk about paid time off. I'm going to show you guys how to make this a lifestyle.
Wow.
Zink Talent is a lifestyle, it's not a job. So this is what I do, and what I want to train my girls is like you're able to travel and have a life while working at the same time from your laptop, your phone, whatever it may be. So it's just I hate like I don't know. I'm able to just combine it all in my life. It's all one thing. But I take breaks. I'm not at my laptop, from like
every minute of every hour of every day. Samantha's just looking over the emails, waiting for shit to come in.
I'm living my life. Yeah. I mean, I can go out to lunch with whoever. I can walk my dog. I can do whatever I want. But I have learned how to have a lifestyle. It's not a job. I'm not excited about Friday, and I think that was like the most important thing for me going into this business was I want to change things.
Wow.
I want it to be different.
Wow. Props to you on approaching your business like that, because I would imagine all of your employees are I don't want to even call them employees, family members that work with you. That sounds like a really special team to be a part of.
Yeah, it's so exciting. And they're always, it's just important for me that they're always happy. And if they're like, hey, Sam, like I need, today to do whatever, no questions asked, go do what you need to do.
Wow.
We all support each other. We're all family. I just hate the word job, work. Like, no, I don't want to work to live. I want to be able to live my life and be happy. I feel like I wasted all my 20s in a 9-to-5, making minimal money. And now I want to be happy. I want to live my life.
Yeah. Those years, although it may feel wasted, it just propelled you to be where you are, and it's going to set you up for the rest of your life to live a pretty damn good life. So although it might have been tough to learn those in your 20s, which I think a lot of us spend our 20s, including myself, throwing a lot of ideas at the wall and seeing what sticks and not being necessarily where we want to be, but also knowing where, what looks like the bigger picture. I think at the end of the day, it all sets you up for, where you're at today and where you're going with everything you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's the journey. I have no regrets, I would definitely not be able to start Zink Talent and manage my team and have everything that we have without all those years in PR and learning and, acquiring that skill set. So no regrets, but definitely much happier these days.
Well, after this podcast drops, I'm going to send an email to Netflix with this episode attached. And I'm going to say, if you're looking for the 2022 version of The Hills, but, in the influencer world, you need to get Samantha as her own show and see if they can start filming for you.
So funny. My team asks me this all the time. They're like, can we have a show, Samantha? Like,
come on, let's make it happen.
Let's manifest it.
Let's manifest it. I can't wait for it to go live, and I can pull this clip and say, we talked about it 12 months, 18 months ago.
How fun.
Oh, that'd be great. All right. These are going to be the final 5, the last 5 questions, and then we'll get out of here. Each question, either one word or one sentence, if possible.
Okay.
Most times it's one sentence. It's pretty hard to answer in one word, as we know. Question number 1. How can people learn to give themselves permission to follow their interests and their ideas?
You learn, you don't even have to learn. You just always follow your ideas and what you want to do. You just go for it.
It's great. Question number 2. If you could go back and tell yourself one piece of advice at any point of your life, what would it be and when?
live in the present. And honestly, every year of my life.
Amen. Amen. Question number 3. What's an area of your life you need to put more effort into?
Family. Especially with COVID, I think that it was hard for a lot of us to see our families, and COVID is still very much a thing.
Yeah.
So, call your parents, go visit them as much as possible. Like, I know the older we get, it's harder to maintain that relationship with them.
Yeah.
But please do, because you never know. Life is short.
Yeah. God bless FaceTime, but I also agree. It's like as we get older, we start hitting our strides with our career, which makes us just want to go even more all in. But also at the same time, it's like your family's getting older, which it isn't easy. I'd very much say that's definitely an area of my life that I try to put more effort into. 4th question for you. What's the first step that anyone can take to reaching their inner potential?
I think find out what you love and research it. Educate yourself on it. Experience it.
It's really good. Get yourself involved with that aspect, and then usually something will come about. Last question for you. If somebody's listened to the last 57 minutes of this podcast, what is one challenge you have for the listeners today as they wrap up listening to this podcast?
Try journaling and writing down what you want in life. It could be a new home. It could be your relationship with a significant other. It can be work-wise. It can be health. Every day I say I'm grateful for my health. I am so healthy because that's your number one wealth. And just journal these affirmations and just see what happens. Again, don't DM me in a few weeks. Give it some time.
Be patient, all right? Be patient with it. Samantha, this has been a fantastic conversation. You are going into this conversation, I already knew you had so many skill sets as an entrepreneur. Like, it takes a lot to be able to run a business. One, I wanted to say earlier when we were talking about your team is like, anybody that can start an idea and put food on the table for even just one person, to me, is like you're a magician, because it's like you created a concept which then has helped other people live. So first off, that's incredible you've been able to do that. Too, the skill sets that you have, the mindset that you have, the vision, the passion, it's very clear that like you are doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing, which I think inspires others to want to find their thing. Even if they're not trying to start an influencer agency, they might see and hear from you and go, well, she was in a place in her life that she wasn't really happy with. She took a leap and now it's working out. I think it's a great example that those out there can, really actually truthfully manifest these ideas, even though it might seem impossible at the time. And then lastly, just you are, as I said earlier, I've been trying my best to get more women on this podcast. And I know there is a women portion of listenership onto this podcast. And I think you are leading by example of just like a go-getter, hustler, badass woman that is just doing what she's supposed to be doing. And it's been an honor to have you on the show today.
Oh, thank you. It's been an honor to be on your show and so much fun. And yeah, I'm feeling like all kinds of great and positive. And I do hope that somebody listening, I am an inspiration to just go out and do it and do what you want. Live your best life.
Yes. That's what it's all about at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed this podcast today, I got a favor to ask. Please screenshot this episode if you're listening on Spotify, iTunes, if you're watching on YouTube. Post it to your IG story. Tag Samantha. She is at Samantha Zinkovich. I will have that linked up in the description below. Also tag me at Bobbbaaaay, B-O, 3 B's, 4 A's, and a Y. Share the podcast in your IG story. Let us know, what was the takeaway? What was the lesson? Was there something that Samantha said that kind of changed your perspective? I'd be very curious to hear what you guys and gals thought of this episode. Also linked up below, I will have Zink, their website. It's just zink-talent.com. And then their Instagram handle is just at Zink Talent. Once again, that's both linked up below. Samantha, is there anywhere else I should be sending people after they listen to the episode?
Nope, you got it all. Thank you.
Got it all. Samantha Zink, thank you for being on the show.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's the Bearded Man Podcast. See ya.